about the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 759. A haunting...
Not in Connecticut.
Sure. I know. I kept...
Haunting of Hill House or Hell House.
Yeah.
Those are two different things.
I kept thinking when I would see just the title on upcoming releases that it was like a sequel to something like that. Like I didn't connect it as like, oh, it's another in the Kenneth Branagh Agatha Christie series.
The sequel is Haunting in Connecticut 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm serious. That's what it's called.
No, yeah, totally. Like, I mean, why would you want to leave Connecticut? They have great tax incentives.
That first one's not bad.
I was just going to say it's a different title, so, it's not a book. The title isn't an Agatha Christie book, so you've not heard of it.
And honestly,
wait, is that right?
Yeah, the book was called Hallowe'en Party. Oh. And honestly, I don't know if I'd ever heard of Hallowe'en Party. Like, I'm not a big Agatha Christie fan. Like, sure. I've read, I think, 2 of her books.
You're more of a Clouseau man.
Yes. And, but I read, like, I read Murder on the Orient Express, and I read whatever the one that...
And then there were none.
That's what they call it now.
They can't call it the other one.
You can't call it either of the other ones.
Which one?
Well, so it was called something offensive.
Yes.
And they changed the name to something that was also offensive.
You're talking about Agatha Christie movie?
Yeah, it's the one we watched it. It was the it was the second one.
Yeah, so
they changed the title.
So so what we now call And Then There Was None was originally called 10 Little N-words.
Yes.
And then they changed the name of it because that's offensive, and
Correct.
they changed it to 10 Little Indians.
Yes.
Right.
And because it's
and
based
they changed
on,
it again.
And then they finally they changed it to, we're not going to name any people in this at all.
Can I tell you, I don't know what the title of that second movie is. I could not tell you the title for the life of me.
Death on the Nile.
Death on the Nile.
Death on the Nile. Okay, because I know the first one obviously, and then I was totally blanking on.
But yeah, so I read that, and I read Murder on the Orient Express, and it was just like, I don't know. I know she's legendary, but it's just something about the writing style. Like, my brain just kind of glosses over, and all of a sudden I've read 3 pages and retained none of it. That's why people can't figure out the mysteries.
I got to tell you, that's like reading Michael Crichton. Sometimes he gets, like in Jurassic Park, he gets into the science. And I was like,
never read a Michael Crichton book for that reason. Same with Tom Clancy.
Oh, sure.
I like those Jurassic Park books. I've read both.
I think 1 and 2, I think both of them are really good. But they do, like, there are like chunks of that. It's almost like, I remember reading
like Tom Clancy about military books.
Yeah, we're like, hey.
Well, Hunt for Red October, he famously got in trouble because he had read all the publicly
declassified stuff
and kind of made assumptions that connected dots, and all of a sudden
the feds are like,
gets a knock on his door, he's like, I just guessed correctly.
Yeah, right.
Sure you did, buddy. Sure you did, buddy.
Is it Stieg Larsson? Is that who wrote The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
Yes.
There's a thing that they've cut out of the movie where they get into, so in the beginning, Mikhail Blomkvist is getting sued, right, for defamation of character. Mm-hmm. They get into like how he got the information and like the lawsuit and the ins and outs of the lawsuit. And boy, that is not fun to read. It is very
Which is
boring.
weird because people like went crazy for that book. So you think if there was something that dry up front, they wouldn't have gone crazy.
I think they went crazy for the book post miniseries. I think that miniseries came out.
Oh, really?
And I think so. And then the book sales went up, and then they're like, Fincher's like, I'll do it.
I thought the Fincher remake was really good.
Man.
I wish they would have kept going with those.
They did. I'm serious.
They made a second one.
Yeah, but
not with Fincher.
Claire.
They tried to make. I mean, and nobody cared.
No.
and then
No,
it was,
I meant David Fincher. Like
Oh,
keep
oh,
doing his
oh.
thing with it.
Yeah.
They did a prequel or something, right? Didn't they do like?
I thought it was
where
like
flashes
I think
back
it
or
was.
something?
Well, no, this was like it would have been. It's so confusing. There's 3 movies, right? There's 3 original movies, 3 original books, and then there's a fourth book.
yeah, and the
that
original movies are like what, Swedish or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you find them,
They're really good.
Those things are like 4 hours long a piece. Like,
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah, they are very
But
good.
that first one, I think, was a really good remake.
It's a great detective story.
Yeah.
Like it's a really well done. But the Americans, us, didn't do the girl who played with fire and the girl who kicked the hornet's nest. They jumped right to like the girl in the spider web, which is post everything that happens.
Yeah.
So
They like found it in a drawer and somebody finished it,
Yes.
right? And now they
Yeah.
just have ghostwriters doing them because they've made more.
oh, have they?
They're kept going.
yeah, they've made because there was
okay.
too much money on the table.
I knew he
that's
didn't
true.
finish the 4th one, and someone else finished it for him. But,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's what. But like, yeah, why?
Because sorry, just the story there is so the woman he was
Involved with.
Yeah, they weren't married, but they had been together forever.
Yeah.
And she was like, he does not want anything published after his death. If he didn't finish it, he doesn't want it published. But because they weren't married, his parents, and because they didn't have kids, his parents ended up
Dang.
getting the rights, and they were like,
Oh, he would like these published, please.
they were like, well, this makes up for the fact that we don't have a 401k in Sweden or whatever. And so it all ended up coming out. And then now I think they just have ghostwriters writing them. Well, I mean, obviously he's not writing them, but
Sure,
like
sure.
they're still
Well, maybe
putting
he
them
is.
out. Yeah.
I think he's like Tupac. They just keep finding
Ghostwriter,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
him.
So
Spirit of vengeance, baby.
but now I'm like want to go down the rabbit hole of like how many of those books were
Oh,
there?
we only got 60 minutes here, so
No, we're good. We got 54. We got enough time.
But well, I guess let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
this is Kevin.
And this is Tom. Before we jump in, quick shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, IR, TuneIn. Wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. Super helpful. Good for the egos, more often than not. And it helps people who come along after you. And, of course, it feeds the algorithm.
That's right.
Which is our God.
That's right.
So you can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/real spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It's called the League of Show Shares. We're hoping you will share an episode just to get the word out. So we're not doing this for no reason. And people who were kind enough to share an episode last week include librarian Cynthia, Ralph Tribble, Phil Timon, Richard Krotzer, Chris Valls, Tammy Lynn Powers Betts, Gabriel Lugo, Chris Magic Man, Tom Dowdy, Matt Gonzalez, Travis Tewitt, Julianne Jordan, Dissect That Film, Taylor Ward, Christopher Rex, David Rojas, Invasion of the Remake, The Film Bee, Geek to Me Radio, Ryan Terry, Nostalgia Cast, The Real Pete, or should I say Pete?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a few more.
Binge Movies, Ronnie Castle, Feel and Film, In Session Film, and Matt Naglia. So thank you very much for sharing an episode. We greatly appreciate it. Also, don't forget we have a Patreon, patreon.com/real spoilers, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we love you long time.
And as soon as my life gets a little less hectic,
So never.
correct.
Yeah.
We'll get back. We got some ready to go.
Yeah.
But we'll finish up.
Yeah, we had a little. The last one was supposed to be up last week, and there was a little audio snafu, so it's gonna be up.
We
this-
accidentally turned Joe's mic on.
There was an accident.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was-
turn it on.
Yeah,
okay.
it was a shame. we like to let Joe play. He plays along.
Right.
Right.
That's
Thinks
true.
that he's getting recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This time, it all mixed together, and there's nothing I could salvage.
Like when I sang on stage with Poison, but the mic was disconnected.
That's exactly
So,
it.
yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
When I was a DJ a million years ago in the
Nice.
late 90s.
And they gave you a mic.
Well, they gave the staff a mic, and we were
Oh,
all
okay.
on there for
I don't know what
the
big song
party
is.
song.
Oh. Their anthem.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I think the Kiss cover that they do.
Oh. Is that
Yeah.
a Kiss cover?
I think they did. Yeah, it's a Kiss cover. I thought. Anyway, so we were on stage for that. But I did steal one of CC DeVille's picks.
Oh, that's nice.
One of the guys in the office was like, "If you get a pick," and I'm like, "I'm not going to ask them for a pick." And then I'm standing on stage, and they're all, how they tape them
They-
on
yeah,
the
sure,
thing,
sure.
on the mic stand, and I was like, "Oh, well, I'm right here. Screw
Yoink.
it. Take a pick for this dude." I'm like, I wasn't going to go out of my way, but I'm like, I'm literally on stage with Poison, and here are all the picks. Okay.
All right.
He's not gonna miss one.
Yeah, right. He doesn't even know how. He has no idea how many.
It's the second to last song of the set. Like he's
already checked out to the bus.
he doesn't need 8 more picks for one song. Not even CeCe DeVille is that bad of a guitarist. So, but
He's just grinding them down on a solo.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh no. Now he's got to play with his fingers for real.
yeah, like he's Al Demiola.
That's right.
So, what else do I have left to say? Oh yeah, and these are all on YouTube. You should go watch them. There
Bam.
you go. Cool. So, there's all that. Let's dig in.
This is a weird movie.
It is weird. You know what? It really is filmed strangely.
I thought the same thing.
Okay, so I'm of two minds of this, and I'm trying to figure it out because usually I like watching a movie with really cool shots. I mean, if you go back to movies like Citizen Kane, even, you're like, wow, these are some really amazing shots they're doing. They're interesting. They're doing it from different angles and all this stuff. This movie is like trying to do all this different stuff, but it's way too frequently.
Yeah.
Where it's not like, oh, here's an interesting shot thrown in here. It's like cut to a weird hallway shot, cut to a weird fisheye close-up shot,
cut to a weird Dutch angle for no reason.
Yeah, it's like they're trying so hard to do weird shots, and then and it doesn't look very good, but they're doing weird shots, and then some of them look like they're filmed on a cell phone, which isn't like a cool Soderbergh compliment. It's like it just looks like a weird old TV miniseries, like not in a good way. But
So
did Branagh direct all 3 of these?
yes,
Okay.
And so here's what I think happened. The first one they made for like $55 million. Orient Express. And
diminishing returns,
and then it was really popular.
Yeah,
it made like $350 million.
Huge cast.
Yeah, and so they gave it more money, and the next one was like $100 million. But then they had to edit that thing within an inch of its life because of Army Hammer,
COVID.
and then
right.
COVID, and so it underperformed, and so they slashed the budget on this one.
Here you go, Kenny. Use
back
your
down to $60
iPhone
million. And like, and if you think about it, this movie only has one set. They found this really weird looking mansion, and they filmed the whole thing there.
Yeah, for sure.
And so like. And so I think what you're responding to is I think he's doing everything he can.
Right.
That's probably true.
To hide the fact that the budget was slashed and he's got one location to work with. I
love chamber pieces. Like that can be a really cool thing, but this did not work for me.
And isn't that how
like this? I like this movie a lot. I think it's the best one of the 3.
Whoa.
Really? Yeah,
Holy
I do.
cow.
I think they do a really fun. I will say I think they do a really fun job with. Is it supernatural? Is it not supernatural?
I love that aspect.
Where
love
are
the
we?
concept,
Like,
yeah.
And what I really liked about this movie was compared to the first two is I liked Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
But I had 2 issues with it. One, it's so rapid fire.
That's true.
That there is no way you can conceivably solve it. Right? These whole things are like you want to play along.
Mm-hmm.
And this is always my thing. This is why I don't like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies, is because you can't play along. Those mysteries do not exist.
Sure.
They're not real mysteries. They just tell you there is a mystery, and then he strings together a bunch of stuff that you had no way of knowing or deducing.
I do like both those movies though.
Yeah, the first one was like okay, and the second one was garbage.
Hey,
but
that has Lisbeth Salander in it, right? Isn't it?
The second one I think for sure does. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I did not like that they started with Murder on the Orient Express. So like,
What's the first book?
I don't even know.
Oh.
But
It's the most famous though.
but
right?
it's the most famous is why they started with. But the problem is the solution to Murder on the Orient Express. It's a punchline, right? Like it, and it really ultimately is kind of like lovingly making fun of murder mystery novels,
Sure.
right? Like,
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
I don't want to say it for people that haven't seen it and spoil it, but I mean, but the solution that they land on, there is no way a person is going to come up with that solution, right? Even though it works and it makes sense and it's kind of funny and you're like, okay, I get it. It's a great trick, but you can only do it once, right?
Yeah, right.
But you shouldn't start with that one because it kind of rests on the fact that you've read all these Agatha Christie other novels, and this one kind of subverts your expectations by doing the one thing you don't think it could ever do, right? And so to use that as a starting point, I thought was not well conceived. It should have built up to Murder on the Orient Express. And then the second one I thought was just, I didn't like it at all. I thought it was boring.
Yeah.
I thought that it was they had to edit so much around Army Hammer, and that all the weird narrative games they had to play to work around him made it virtually unsolvable. What I like about this one is that it finally calmed down.
That is
right?
true.
Like,
and the cast is much smaller.
Yeah, and like it finally calmed down and actually tells a story in a fairly even, straightforward narrative sense, and like you can play along. I feel like someone could watch this movie and with the information presented to you, solve the mystery.
Yeah,
Probably.
I think it is all there. I didn't see it coming, but I think it's all laid
Yeah.
out. If you once they piece it together, you're like, oh yeah, well, it
that
they
was
did
all
show you
there.
the
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
And I don't feel like the other two really played fair
I don't
with
even
the
remember
mystery.
the second one.
Second one's on the
it
boat,
is.
and it's
I know
Annette
that they're in
Bening
Cairo or
and-
whatever, but
And Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
I don't know who did what. I think Armie Hammer was a bad guy in the end.
Him and his wife
Yeah.
did it, or fiance
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
it's- I don't even remember why, but
Because he's a cannibal.
yeah, like total Coelho. That's you don't even know what I'm talking about.
I thought you were making a joke about Poirot's name.
No, there was a mild hit in the 80s called I Eat Cannibal
Oh.
by the band Total Coelho.
Oh, okay.
I Eat Cannibal. It's incredible.
Oh.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
how long was it a hit?
About 14 seconds. Yeah. So
As long as it takes you to pronounce the name.
That's right. That's right.
But anyway, so like I really ended up enjoying this movie. I get what you're saying about the shots, but
I think it could have been good. Like
Yeah.
I like the concept a lot,
Yeah.
and I really love what it does great is someone like Poirot who's so logical and obviously no nonsense. He picks apart everything and all the evidence. It gets him to actually question what he's seeing and
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
So I love the concept of it. I just think that the budget was so small, and I mean I know it's not Branagh's fault. He's doing the best he can, but whatever they were doing with all those shots and the way it was filmed, it just looked so bad. And again, not like, oh, this looks like the time period appropriate and like they're trying to do a BBC miniseries, whatever.
But
like,
you know
it
what? That's
looked-
what it felt like. This felt like a BBC like Agatha Christie adaptation. Because I thought the same thing.
It just, but it was like not in a good way. You know, sometimes we're like, oh, I love it when there's the extra grain and it feels period appropriate. There was something about this that looked like it was a handy cam. It looked like
when there are scenes when he's got it, you know that he's wearing a rig, like the camera's facing him and he's like walking around and you know he's wearing like it's one of those shots. I don't know if anybody remembers the show. There was a show on MTV called Fear, where they would take like a bunch of
do, like, stunts and
teenagers.
stuff?
Well, they would put them in like a haunted place, and they had to do like challenges
and stuff,
or
yeah.
whatever, and they
it was
come
like
back.
Fear Factor, but
But yeah, and they would all wear like shoulder harnesses, and they'd have a
and they'd
camera
be following
like-
him around. They'd be in the dark. Oh,
Yeah, exactly. And there were scenes in this where they were doing the same thing. I was like, man, that is a choice.
What I do like they had some really good ideas. I liked when he was wearing the mask and you could see out the eye holes, kind of Halloween POV.
Yeah.
I liked that. I liked the idea of some of the weird shots, but again, it just something about it was hurting my head. I'm like, it looked bad. Like it was poorly executed, interesting concepts, but I kept being. They would just cut between these shots and you know what I mean. And
I think they're trying to get you to feel disoriented in
Yeah.
the way he's feeling disoriented.
That could be. That could very well be.
but,
I also think Venice is like kind of low key one of my favorite places to like film something. Like it's just so.
That's a weird city, man.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
Like it's
why
just-
would anyone do that?
I don't know, but it is. It's very weird, and like the buildings are. It doesn't look like anything else. There's nothing else in the world
sure.
that looks like Venice.
listen to Mr. Italian over here.
All right. Hey,
I love it,
Hey,
Venice.
don't
I
do
love
that.
it.
Don't do that. You can't do that. I can do that. You can't do that.
Can Mario do that?
Yeah, not Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
But there, like, I do think it's such a unique place to film something. I don't know if there's this movie called it's Terminator 2 is what they call it, but it's definitely a ripoff of Terminator from it's an Italian flick. I
I've
wish I
heard
could
of
remember.
this. Yeah, I've
like
heard of
Body
this.
Shock, I think, or something like that. But they film it like they're running through the streets of Venice, and it's
Wouldn't they be swimming through the streets? of
no,
Venice?
because like but that's I guess that's true. They're running on the sidewalks of Venice.
Okay.
I
I
guess.
loved the imagery of like they're like this is like what 1945
Yeah, some
40s?
no,
No, 'cause
it's post
World
World
War II. So
because Jamie Dornan, is that his name?
1947. Then it was like 45 to 47
Because
maybe
he's
46. Split the
he's got
difference.
PTSD, like that's
Yeah.
his deal.
Yeah, it's definitely post World War II. I don't if they ever set an official year. I don't remember.
It's between 45 and 47 for sure. I know it was like mid 40s.
I'm not gonna lie. I missed the first 5 minutes of this movie.
Oh. You gotta do it.
I had a work call. I had a major.
I've been there.
Major show crisis.
Oh no!
And I had to take a work call. So Crystal went in and watched it, and then like fed me what
hey,
happened.
can you just record this for me real quick, and I'll watch in the beginning.
Yeah, just let them know you're with the press. It'll be fine. Yeah.
But like, it is interesting to kind of see Branagh kind of do there were these run of horror flicks that came out of the UK that were not like gore based. They were like ghost based, or like a haunted house, like The Haunting or The Haunting of.
It's more atmospheric.
Atmospheric, yeah. And this felt like that, and those are all kind of like one set pieces. And I think this was really good at, again, not really knowing if we're dealing with something supernatural, which. That we're probably not,
right?
Because
it's not what these books do.
Yeah,
right?
but
it's really fun to question. But again, seeing Poirot question it,
right?
The man who is so logical, he would never believe in these things, and it's really interesting to see he's actually seeing these things which he would never believe in, and then to find out why. It's clever.
It is clever.
I really do like the idea of it. I liked the atmosphere and the setting.
I love a spooky house.
Yeah.
Spooky. If you do it right, like that's good stuff
for sure.
So this one starts. We've got Poirot is
Ross Perot.
Yes, Ross Perot.
Yes, Ross
Can of
Perot.
finish. Is out on it. He's just done. He's retired to Venice. He's got this one of my favorite. This has been my favorite character of all of these movies. Is the Italian bodyguard, where he's just punching people and throwing them over like the bridges. I think it's hilarious, and he's not really taking any cases. And then Tina Fey shows up, who I didn't know was in this movie, and I was like, well,
you didn't?
No, I didn't watch it. I don't remember ever seeing a trailer for this.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, this is okay. Like, I love Tina Fey.
Yeah.
And she basically says, so is she supposed to be Agatha Christie?
Yes, she's kind of like a stand-in for Agatha Christie.
Okay. She's this famous crime or mystery writer, and she has made Poirot famous.
She wrote a book based on his character. She followed him on a case, and then wrote a book, thinly veiled version of him that everybody figured out was him, and then he became very famous, which is why the whole world knows who he is. Yes,
and he has retired from taking cases.
I think it's funny that there's all these detective books are about detectives who are very famous, when I cannot think of one famous detective in real life.
Elliot Ness.
Was he a detective? He was a cop.
I guess he was a cop.
Yeah, but they don't detect anything. Who are we kidding? But
not at all.
But like, he wasn't really a detective.
That's
like, he
true.
wasn't out solving mysteries.
Yeah.
So
it's just such a fun concept, though, to think that there's this great detective.
That's true.
Batman,
Sherlock Holmes.
Like, but like the
Poirot.
And if you've ever talked to a private investigator. If you've ever talked to a private investigator, and thanks to my first wife, I have quite frequently, they'll tell you, they're like, this job is so boring. They're like,
it's
just sitting there watching for someone to do something and then going,
click.
Okay,
got it.
Yeah.
You can make a case that Mikhail Blomkvist is a detective.
Yeah,
he's a journalist.
Yeah.
But I mean,
he's kind of about Veronica Mars.
Yeah.
Keith Mars.
Columbo.
Yeah.
I love me some Columbo.
Jessica Fletcher.
Jessica Fletcher. Yeah, that's a good one.
Matlock. I mean, he's a lawyer, but he's also solving.
Perry Mason.
From a narrative standpoint, he functions as a detective. I would also agree with House. He's a medical detective.
You mean Sherlock?
Yeah. Diagnosis murder.
I got to tell you, it took me too long that he was Sherlock Holmes.
I mean, doesn't he even live at like 221?
Yeah, he's a drug addict.
Yeah.
His name is House instead of Holmes.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, god damn it.
Yeah. Buys all his furniture at Watson's.
I thought it was fine. It was funny when I figured out that Laurie and Fry were a comedy duo, and I'm like, the guy from House is a comedian. That's really weird.
He does a really good English accent, though.
He does one of the better ones.
Exactly.
So yeah, she says, like, I've got this case. I need your help. And he's like, no, I'm not doing it. And she kind of goads him with like, you probably couldn't figure it out anyway. And he's like, all right, fine.
Nobody calls me a chicken.
Right, nobody calls me a chicken. So they go and we find out that she's the wife from Yellowstone. I don't know.
I
what
don't
her
watch
name
it.
is.
I watched 2 episodes.
I watch clips every once.
I
I
in a
have no
watched
idea who that
2
was.
episodes of Yellowstone because everybody was raving about it, and like halfway through the second episode, I turned to my wife and I'm like, "Is this complete dog?" And she's like, "It is complete dog." And I was like, "Are you cool?" I'm like, "I don't understand what people love about this show. It's just Dallas, but not as good."
I think that leans a little towards a certain.
I agree, and I don't even begrudge it that.
No.
It just wasn't good. Like, I don't understand. I feel like sometimes people on the right are so desperate for something to tell them that they're correct, that they'll glob onto anything. And
But
like,
people that have very different views from you
Yeah.
love it. So like,
It's
the
like
fact
the-
that you don't like it doesn't
What's
seem
like-
that
well,
and I
odd
wasn't even
because-
like, "Oh my God, this is offending my sensibilities." I was like, "This is so boring and cheesy."
Right.
And
But the stuff it says, apparently they're just like, I don't know what it's, he's defending his ranch or what. I don't know what
Yeah.
it's
I have no
about,
idea.
but
I know
Yeah.
that Kevin Costner's like the mayor or something.
I know that he makes like $100 million a season
Yeah.
or something.
Are you
crazy.
serious?
Yeah.
Oh, he makes so much like that because I think to get him to come do this
Oh,
this show
I
on
guess
some
if you're getting
streaming network
Kevin Costner,
back
yeah.
when they still streaming networks still were throwing money at everything left and right, that they were, they threw a bunch of money at him and he was like, "Don't mind if I do."
How long do I got to be on set? A week for 17 episodes?
Yeah.
Done.
And then he said he wasn't going to do the new one. It was like he turned on $50 million for the season.
well, there's
or
like
something.
2 other ones. There's like a prequel, and then there's like
And there's spinoffs. He's a
And
producer.
Harrison
and-
Ford's in one of them.
What?
Helen
Yeah.
Mirren.
And one
What?
of the, and the prequel,
Yeah.
like the 1883 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they were like, well, we
Or
got this.
Sam Elliott in
Elliott's in one.
1883. And,
Sam Elliott, I'll give you. Sam
and
Elliott,
Harry-
I feel like will do kind of anything.
and Harrison Ford is in like 1923 or
Harrison
something.
Ford
I
and
don't know.
Helen Mirren.
I feel like they had. Look, we had 50 million set aside for Costner.
Yeah, we can-
What if we give 25
See,
to Ford,
I-
25 to Mirren?
I still think with the Costner turning it down, it was in the middle of that divorce.
Yeah.
His divorce?
He didn't want that to be
And-
a part of it.
And so
Oh.
in my head, I was like, he's waiting for that divorce to be final.
Who was he married to?
So she don't get half of it.
was
He
that?
was married
Mrs.
to
Costner.
Mrs. Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
And the only reason I even know all that is because I guess in the court filings they were fighting over a Peloton.
Oh
And I'm
my
just
God.
like, I'm like,
have so much
you have
money."
so much money, and you're fighting over a bike you can get for like $1,800.
That's
Right.
crazy.
Or even
Like-
free when you say, I ride a Peloton.
Yeah,
Right. Like, actually, Peloton does not give product to social
Oh,
media
really?
influencers. Like
Not
But
even
do they take
Harris,
Kevin
not even
Costner?
Kevin Costner.
not even
if
clip
Kevin
out
Costner
Crystal.
walked out, though,
clip
do you
out
think
Crystal.
that?
I am not aware of any time they've given. The only thing they ever gave away was when the guide came out, but the guide was like $400.
Oh,
like,
sure.
But in terms of like the real pieces of equipment, bike, tread, row, I am unaware of them ever giving them to social media influencers.
He wouldn't want to accept anything free anyway, right? He would want to pay for it.
Who's the mom in Sky High?
Is this the same person?
That's who I thought was
So
his
this
wife.
this is Kelly Reilly is the mom, the main character.
Oh no, I meant like Kevin Costner's wife.
Oh, I don't know.
I wish I could remember that gal's name.
No.
It doesn't matter.
But anyway, so yeah, Kelly Reilly
Yeah.
is the mom, and it's been it's a year to the day of her daughter's death, and apparently the daughter was seeing spirits, and this house is haunted. They do a little play with puppets and stuff, which looked
I
pretty
gotta tell
cool.
you, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it was a cool
yeah,
play.
I like that Kenneth. I'm not gonna say his name because I suck at it. Kenneth Branagh is like, "Are you sure this is all right for kids?" I'm like, this is a little much. But it reminded me of Candyman, the remake of Candyman.
Sure.
They did something very similar.
Oh yeah,
with
yeah.
the-
They did kind of the shadow
Yeah.
puppet thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Austin Powers, the spy who shagged me.
Yeah, that's a very different shadow game.
Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Ooh,
He
that's
was
a good-
doing shadow.
That's right, he
puppets,
was, yeah.
hand-
Yeah,
Pee Wee
hand puppets.
Herman.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically this they do like this Halloween party for the kids, and then once that's done, they were going to hold a séance with they say the last woman alive who was sentenced to prison for being a witch, which is Michelle Yeoh in this movie. And
I missed that part.
yeah,
That's her
there's-
backstory.
Yeah, she's like the last
Holy
woman,
cow.
and she was released
Yeah.
because they're all like, "Yeah, we kind of screwed that up. Sorry about that." And then she parlayed that into this medium
Yeah.
kind of gimmick where she has, and I do love that. So she does the whole thing.
He does. I was talking to someone at the theater about this. Knives Out is so good. And
Yes.
The second Knives Out is so good.
Yes.
And now you watch these movies, even though they were the original
Yeah.
stories.
Well,
Knives Out's done it so well.
there were a couple beats of this that I felt very similar to Glass Onion.
Right,
Like the guy getting invited to the party that wasn't really invited,
guessing how everything was done.
or
in the
when he
beginning real quick.
completely just picks apart everything at the beginning. Yeah,
and now you're just like, man, Ryan Johnson's done it so well that it's like the
Back to
student
back.
has become the master.
Yeah, back to back.
And these movies are having a hard time standing up to those because I'll tell you what, I love those two Knives Out movies.
They're
Great.
fantastic.
And-
Also, I also have to put a plug in here for Poker Face on Peacock. If you
Oh,
have not
yeah.
watched Poker Face,
That's the
Natasha Lyonne.
Natasha Lyonne
yes,
show.
have either
I
watched?
I
haven't
have,
seen
yeah.
it, no.
I watched the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, it is so damn
Okay.
good.
I need to
Yeah.
watch it.
It is like next.
That's also Ryan Johnson, right?
Yes, yeah. Which is why she's in Glass Onion. When they're doing a Zoom and it's all people who are like detectives, right? Like like
Private Eyes or something.
yeah, like Kareem because Angela
Kareem
Land.
Abdul-Jabbar's in there?
Yeah, isn't he one of them?
think so.
He has written some mystery novels,
Oh,
apparently,
okay,
which I didn't
okay.
realize. And then Angela Lansbury's in there because of Jessica Fletcher, and then Natasha Lyonne's in there. But Poker Face had not come out yet. But the two of them were working on Poker Face together.
Okay.
So he put her on the Zoom call.
So wait.
And Stephen Sondheim, right?
Yeah.
Are we saying that the Jessica Fletcher is in the Glass Onion?
No,
But
she's
that's just-
she's
Oh,
playing
she-
Angela Lansbury.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
But
thought
it's
she was
all
playing
people
Jessica
people
Fletcher.
that-
who have connection to
Got it,
famous
got it.
murder mystery type of
I was like, that would
things.
be insane.
Yeah.
And great at the same time. So yeah, he comes in and she starts doing the whole gimmick, and he immediately is like, "Hey, dummy," and like reaches up under the fireplace
yeah.
and like pulls one of the guys, one of her little minions out, who's got like a magnet that's making this typewriter like type things
And
out.
I do like it's kind of creepy and good atmosphere with the typewriter, boom, slamming down the
Yeah,
letters.
no,
and Michelle Yeoh's like really selling what's going on, and you're into it, but then they
Yeah, she does not phone it in for a 1-day contract.
No way.
Got to give her that.
Yeah, she is. So this is the part where I was like, maybe we are doing something kind of weird, and then because I had watched Talk to Me before I watched this, and I was like, okay, maybe
I did it the other way around. So
not a bad idea.
yeah.
She starts spinning in the middle of this room, and she's like messing with her face, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like maybe this is something supernatural.
How was the spinning happening? That was
They
weird.
don't explain that.
Yeah, because I would like to know. Everything else is explained, and I don't like that she's spinning rapidly. And
She's
it's
just
like,
with her foot. You just can't see it.
I would like to know at least.
She's on an office chair.
Yeah.
Just an office chair. Somebody-
So Brenna puts it together immediately. And as he's talking to her later, he's kind of calling her out, and he's saying this, you did this, here's your 2 assistants, set you all up here. She does have a moment where she's like, smooth. Will you also shut up and let me collect my money, please?
Yeah. I forget what they ask him, but there is a point where they're like, well, how did she do this? And he's like, look, I can't necessarily pick apart every individual thing, but like,
It had to be the spinning thing.
but he's like, it's clearly yes.
It's clearly
I just love how I really love how Branagh plays this character, and I think it's hard when you're directing. That would be tough to like make these choices
Talk
and
about
not have people.
Although I will also say he's been doing that his entire career.
for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
He's-
his very first film, he directed and starred in.
He's very
Which is
talented in that.
Dead
for sure.
Again, which
Oh,
if
okay,
you've not
yeah.
seen is a delight.
yes.
But I think it's very talented that the way he plays Poirot. I like the way he carries himself and how he just seems bored by things.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
they're so easy to figure out, and you believe it. You're like, this guy's so good.
Yeah.
He does not care.
He
Like,
is world weary.
Benoit Blanc is kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Like in
but
halfway
he's
through
more
the
like nonchalant. I like how Benoit Blanc is laid back and he's doing
but
it
he-
all in his mind, but he's just like a goofball. But he's like, oh yeah, and by the way, blah 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 blah. I know how.
but
he has moments of excitement though, but he does have that kind of like, oh my god, this is
jizz.
what you're doing,
you
Like,
dummy. Like I've
he
already
gets angry though, like when people are doing stuff, which I like too.
No, I think in both of those movies he gets to like 3/4 of the way through, and he thinks he's stumped, and then
Yeah.
like something clicks, and he's like, I got it.
Yeah.
So all this is going on, and then I believe like there's a storm a brewing, and the power goes out, I think, and then
So Michelle Yeoh tells Poirot like to just
kiss off.
No, she's just kind of like, you don't believe this, but there are things that you can't explain and weird things, and she puts a cloak and a mask on him.
puts. Yes, you're right. You're right.
And then he walks around with it, and you get some of those, I think, some interesting point of view shots from Poirot, and he goes to Bob Apples because he's like, "Oh, we'll do something."
One of those apples looked rotten to the. I was like, "Don't put your mouth on that one. That's gross." And as he's doing that, he gets clubbed in the back of the head and pushed into the water. And then the cop shows up and pulls him out of the water, and he spits up grossness. They're trying to figure it out, and then while all that's going on, all of a sudden, Michelle Yeoh, in a pretty I thought it was pretty dope, like a pretty good little death scene, gets thrown onto a statue and lands
impaled
with the hand, and I was like, well, that's oof.
You don't really see it happen though. Is this PG-13?
I think so.
It's got to be, right?
Bloodless.
Yeah.
Right, because that's what I mean. Like, there are some interesting kills, but like it's in a shadow. You see the shadow for falling on a thing, which doesn't quite hit as hard. You know, like I get what they were trying to do because like we got to make every dollar that we can with this thing. But I do think that if maybe you know, it doesn't have to be super gory, but like
I don't know, man. You get impaled on a statue, it's gonna be kind of gory. Have you seen Hot Fuzz?
But the whole movie doesn't have to be super gory. But I do think it kind of lessens the impact. Like that could be really shocking if you saw her do it not in a shadow. You know,
Sure.
So it maybe didn't hit as hard. But yeah, you see that and you're like, well, crap, like that was unexpected.
What was there is a. Oh no, it's in Talk. We'll get to it on the next episode. But in Talk to Me, there's a scene where I was like, holy.
Yeah.
So now Poirot's like, I got you. Like now we got something cooking, and he starts trying to piece it all together. He goes and looks at the body, but is it Jamie? What's his name? Jamie
Dornan.
Jamie
from
Dornan.
50 Shades.
Sure, I haven't seen anything
From Barb and Star Go to Del Mar.
Barb and Star Go to what's it called?
Barb and Star Go to Del Mar.
Isn't there another word?
Vista
in there?
Del Mar.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. And he's not. I guess he's like the family doctor. Is kind of the way I took that. He's like a private.
He's like a non-practicing doctor.
But he only works for the family. I feel like.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. He's a doctor, but he's a garbage doctor because he has PTSD and he can't get it together. And he's got this son who is creepy AF. The entire time I was like, well, that's him. Like, that's the killer because he's just creepy.
Every time they filmed the son, they did a weird camera angle. Which
That's what I'm saying.
Which I think is maybe on purpose and
it's like
foreshadowing.
A cinematic red herring.
It was, but I was just like, but it's so weird.
But he is weird. I mean, he ends up being the one who's blackmailing the family. So, like, he is doing something nefarious. He just isn't killing people.
For sure. But man, I guess
Kenneth Branagh must really like this kid.
I guess.
Because that's the kid from Belfast.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Which was directed by Kenneth Branagh.
Got it. So Jamie Dornan messes up the autopsy. He misses a broken wrist. He misses the time of death. And now...
How do you miss time of death in a murder mystery? Because they always smash their watch.
I know. Like, it's always
like
there.
every time a clock breaks to establish the time of death.
That seems to conveniently work so well.
Yeah.
Well, you got to know when it happened.
I mean, can't the glass break on a watch without it stopping? Like it always.
Well, and how do you know that when it took that impact, it didn't move
the
one of the hands?
Or also, how do you know it wasn't broken before?
Yeah, like it's just.
How do you know it didn't have a battery or wasn't wound or whatever?
Well, yeah, because if you were in a court of law, that's what you would say as a defense attorney. Yeah. But in a narrative structure, they're trying to like give you here's a clue to establish a hard fact. The person died at 12:15.
Got it.
Right? Like it's like that's really what that's about. It's just a narrative construct.
I just always am like, it took an impact. That means that the little delicate hands, you know how flimsy those hands are in a watch? If it took an impact,
not people with this kind of money.
Oh, that's true. Those are very.
Those are like stainless steel things. So now the game is afoot, if you will. And
he's locking all the doors.
I think you're getting your detective.
Oh yeah, they're stuck there till the next day. Didn't that happen in Glass Onion? They couldn't rescue them.
Yeah, they couldn't get off the island. Yeah.
So there's that convention. Like we just saw a lot of this, which felt very weird. This also reminded me of Clue. Is Clue a parody of this? Because
it's a parody of
an Agatha Christie
Agatha Christie mysteries in general.
But this one particularly, like the other,
I don't think so. And I only say that because I know that while this movie is based on Halloween Party, it's like very loosely based on Halloween.
As in there's a party and it's Halloween.
Yes, there's a party and it's Halloween and somebody dies.
Okay.
And it's Venice.
But this felt like maybe Branagh enjoys Clue because
when all of them would run to different rooms.
Yeah. Because like the murderer in the book, I don't even think is a character in this movie.
Oh, weird.
So like it's like if you're an Agatha Christie fan and you're wanting to see an adaptation of Halloween Party,
you're gonna be pissed.
You are going to be disappointed.
An Aghead.
Is that what they're called?
I don't know.
Trademark that right now. That's ours.
I don't know that there's a lot of value to locking in Agatha
Agatha
Christie related IPs. Call me crazy.
Hey, if we can get one.
Based on the box office of this
Yeah,
film,
no joke. No
Maybe
joke.
the merch will make more than the movie.
in their defense, slow time of year for films, and no one's allowed to do any press.
That's a good point. On that subject, because this movie's boring.
Well, he got 20 minutes.
When does there's got to be they're gonna run out of stuff.
I know. Like, we're going to be going
So-
back to doing misbegotten sequels.
I know. So
You can't just not pay people.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I feel
Oh,
bad
it's-
for the people that aren't working and making money.
for
but
sure in the
for
short term,
long
but in the
run,
long term, like the deal that they want these actors
Have
and
you
there's
writers
seen
no
to
they
make
way.
is ridiculous.
pennies? If you look at the streaming residuals, people are showing their checks and everything.
Yeah.
And they're like, this thing is the number one blah 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 on Netflix. Whatever. I made 6 cents.
yeah.
and I
Oh, there
wrote it,
was
you know?
somebody that
Aaron Paul said
Aaron
he
Paul,
hasn't made
that's what it was.
anything from the streaming of Breaking Bad on Netflix. He's not made
That's
one penny.
insane.
And it used to be the residuals from reruns is what kept you afloat.
Yeah.
Well, nobody is really showing reruns on terrestrial
AMC,
TV in the
whatever.
same way anymore. And so it's all going to everybody's moving to streaming, and they're basically like, well, we don't got to pay you for that.
Yeah,
like,
it's such a
well,
like
if
a
that's the dominant model, well, then you need to pay people.
Right. Like, think about how popular Breaking Bad is, and especially because of Netflix. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, it's not playing on regular TV. Like, you need to make your money. You need residuals.
I wonder if people are going to be, because A24 signed the deal. They're like, yeah, man, whatever you want
all
to do.
these small ones are
You
doing
got
it.
it.
All these ones can do it somehow, but the big ones that make
Yeah.
We're going to get Avatar 3 produced by A24.
Yeah.
But I just
it's going to
wonder.
be James Cameron with puppets.
Oh, that makes that movie so much more interesting. Is to watch that. But I'm curious as to when is it gonna? I wonder if they're gonna go back to the vault for stuff that they've already filmed, but not Did you know?
And maybe we'll see Batgirl.
I know. Did you know Salem's Lot was made and done?
No,
It's finished.
It's already done.
They finished it a year ago in 2021, and they just shelved it and it's just sitting there, which means it's gonna suck, which sucks for me because that's my favorite one.
All right, so back to this one. So
Oh,
what we
yeah,
keep
right.
doing is they keep flashing back to, so the way the daughter died, she was seeing visions, she was very out of it, and we're led to believe that she went to her balcony and jumped off into the water
Correct.
and drowned. And you keep seeing the mom, looks like she's holding her,
Holding
trying
her.
to pull her out
Yeah.
of there, whatever, and you keep flashing back to the scene. So we don't really know what's up, but in the spooky, are there really ghosts and things? Apparently, this house used to be an old children's hospital or something.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
The kids are coming back in that little story to the nurses and the doctors killing them because they didn't save them.
Right.
And so now the ghosts are haunting this place, and they terrorize the daughter and caused her.
They go after the stories. They go after nurses and doctors, and I do like the scene where Brenna's like, "Have you found the basement?" And I'm like, "There's no basement to this place." And he just walks over to a wall and kicks the door in. He's like, "There it is." Found it. But I do like this part because they go down into the basement and there are cages and things down there. So you're also kind of like, I mean, maybe, I don't know. But we do now Kenneth Branagh is starting to hear a child singing or somebody, he sees a shadow and he's trying to chase in the shadows.
He's hearing
gone.
things and everyone's looking at him like, you're crazy, but also he's been hit in the head, right?
Right.
So you're starting to wonder, is he, and you're leaning towards you, of course, there's something going on, right? I mean, it's very Scooby-Doo. It's very
It is
who's pulling the tricks? Who's doing the stuff?
Right.
Someone's playing a not a record, but what would be an old-timey...
A Victrola?
Victrola is what I'm looking
Which
for.
is just a record, but go on.
Right, but someone's playing a Victrola with the daughter recorded singing or something.
But I do,
think
but also I
something's-
like the scene that I did that I thought was really spooky is he sees this little girl running and he sees
When it becomes The Ring?
kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Ringu.
Which is also, I gotta tell you, super creepy.
I just thought that was Japanese
Ragu.
meat sauce.
Yeah.
Didn't know where that was gonna go. That was gonna be interesting. One way or the-
You're like, oh no.
You can buy all
he-
sorts of things from those vending
That's
machines.
true,
He's
that's-
the old
that's
guy.
true.
Is he about to say something racist? Have
The
we
other-
hit that point in his
one
age
is-
cycle?
Yeah, and we're just kind of like, come on.
Yeah.
You know better.
You know how grandpa is.
Yes, exactly.
It was a
right.
different
Yes.
time.
Yeah, right. But the original Grudge, Ju-on, terrifying.
Yeah.
That original one was terrifying.
There was a minute there where all those Japanese horror movies were getting remade into American
One
versions.
Missed Call,
they
The
were so
Ring,
popular,
The Grudge. Yeah, all that stuff kind of blew up.
Oppenheimer? Oh, no.
Oh, no. That's a different kind of horror story.
It is a Japanese horror story.
Was Sarah Michelle Gellar in the remake?
Sarah Michelle Gellar was in the remake of that one, and Naomi Watts was in the other one. But there is actually, there's a Ring versus The Grudge.
No.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a real thing.
Like a movie?
Yeah, but not in America. It was it was a Japanese movie.
Versus Predator, versus Alien, versus Batman.
Yes. Versus Crocodile Dundee.
Yes.
There was a period of time when they were actively pitching Beverly Hills Cop meets Crocodile Dundee.
Okay.
They were
Well,
gonna.
remember there was Men in Black in 21 Jump Street.
Yeah,
That was almost a thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, that would have been fun.
Maybe.
I think it could have been with Lord
Even-
Miller.
Yeah,
Like
maybe.
that would have been fascinating. If it had been good, it would have been great. If it had been bad, it would have been great.
It would have been right.
It would have just been such a what are we even looking
Yeah,
at?
right. Unlike that reboot that we got for Men in Black that was not good.
Yeah.
So Poirot's going around. Tina Fey has a semi alibi. Says, "Okay, you come around with me and help question." So he's doing the thing where he interrogates everybody and tries to get, "Where were you? I was in this room when this happened. This, that." It just goes through a bunch of that.
Yeah.
that you do in all these.
St. Louis
movies.
is in this movie.
No, that's right. Yeah.
I remember they want to go to Missouri.
They want to go to Missouri, but
They
because they watched the first half of Meet Me in St. Louis.
Oh,
Yes.
that's funny.
Yeah, and that got a weird laugh in the theater.
Oh,
Like,
for sure. When they said we're going to send you to Missouri or whatever, people were like,
you dummies.
Yeah.
the two other people in the theater.
They're like, you're so dumb. We don't like foreigners. I mean, the white one's okay.
Yeah, well,
but,
you, buddy.
But the guys
Get
got to
outta
go.
here. Yeah,
Why
you
not? This is
can't-
Missouri,
This is
man.
Well, it depends.
We don't-
what part of Missouri you're in.
All parts.
That's true.
Yeah.
But then the detective's like, okay, I know the score. Like, I know you want to talk to me, and this is where we find out that
Talk to me is a different.
that is a different. Yeah, Tina Fey and this detective have been in on this the entire time. First, we find out that the detective was the first on scene. He gives us actually a really good story about how sometimes a cop can reach a point where he's like, that's it. Like, you've reached your limit. In the words of Jim Ross, he met his limit on his bump card. You just can't take any more bumps, and that's it. Your career is over.
Is that a ding?
That is a ding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, I have no idea. I'm like, is that a police officer?
Jim Ross is probably.
It's okay.
Fair enough. Basically, a
Only
wrestler.
14 minutes.
Yeah.
Basically, a wrestler can only take so many hits, and that's it.
Gotcha.
So once your bump card's full, you're done.
Okay.
And this detective is like, I worked a case and I couldn't get past it, and I had to retire. And we find out that the case that he was working was this girl's case,
The daughter
who died,
drowned.
Couldn't figure it out. And it sounds like Tina Fey was kind of pissed at Kenneth Branagh because her last few books kind of tanked,
Right. She's in a slump.
and did she?
Because he's not solving mysteries, she can base.
Is
them
that
off
kind of what
or
that
is
was? That's what I kind of thought she was trying to
I kind of
say.
thought since he retired that she didn't have inspiration. Or
I
he
thought
wasn't popular.
I didn't hear it that way, although I don't necessarily think that's wrong. I heard it more as like, she just kind of wanted to go back to what worked.
Oh, sure.
Like
sure,
she had
sure.
written other books, but then she'd been in a slump, and she's like, "Well, this is the book that made me famous, so let me go back
Yeah.
to that."
That makes sense.
That's how I heard it, but I'm not convinced
But
that I'm
her
right.
her goal was to stump Kenneth Branagh. That was if I can write a book about the greatest detective of all time being stumped on a case and giving into the idea that the occult, not the occult, but like the supernatural is real. This is gonna change everything. And of course, Kenneth Branagh figures it out, and he was like, "Phew, phew, we're done."
You're cool.
Yeah, well, we haven't gotten to that part yet. That's kind of what he says to the kid. Yeah. He's like, "Yeah, you'll be all right."
So Poirot is surprisingly chill sometimes with people. You know what I mean? Like he's so about the law. And then I feel like in the last, I feel like in every movie he kind of does this.
Well,
where
in this one,
he's just kind of like, you're good. We don't really have to. You're good.
Yeah, the end of this one.
and Murder on the Orient Express at the end, he's kind of like, the guy kind of deserved killing. Like, it's the good old fashioned Texas, he needed killing defense.
But
Yeah,
right.
right.
But like he, until the end of that first one, which I know that was the first movie, but like the whole first movie, he's like, no, if you did something,
Justice
you're
must be
right.
served.
And then after that, he kind of like.
And then he's
lightens
like,
up a little
"Oh,
bit."
that guy was kind of a like,
but at the end of this
the
one,
second one, I think he's kind of like, that was Armie Hammer.
yeah, he's like, "Well, look at the guy."
Yeah.
We all know. But he does say, the detective is like, "I guess we're gonna go to jail." I guess
He says, like, in the daylight, it does not seem that is necessary.
Well, it's twofold, right? Like, I'm gonna go to jail, or I'm gonna. Either way, he's like, no, it's a wash. Like, you go your way, I'll go my way.
Of course, it's a wash. It's Venice. There's so much
true.
water.
There's so much water everywhere. While all of that is going, and he figures all of this out, we know that Jamie Dornan has had a panic attack, basically, and his son has been like this anchor for his dad, where he
Gives him his meds.
or even just like talks him off the cliff, because he goes after the boyfriend, which I thought was a really good scene.
It's called parentification, and it's ill-advised. And
Yes.
It's a shame when parents do that to their children.
That is correct.
Well, and then they
Not
start
that I've
writing,
watched it happen.
start writing blackmail letters and all sorts.
Well, I will say Jamie Dornan might make a pretty good Batman. If he's young enough, I think he's in the right age range, and he had moments of like pretty good intensity in this
Better
one.
bulk up.
That's true. Yeah.
That's what
I don't know.
CGI is for.
Or a suit.
Yeah.
You know. But he has this panic attack. They lock him in this soundproof room, and then they come back after everything's figured out, and he's dead.
He's dead.
He dead. And now they've got to figure out like how
He was
the
only one
hell
in there.
did
What's
this happen?
happening here?
So what we find out is that I'm trying to think. Oh, they're talking to the boyfriend, and the boyfriend like cuts his finger on a knife, and he grabbed.
Who's the boyfriend? I'm not recalling. Who do you guys?
It
keep
was
referencing?
the daughter's ex-boyfriend.
Oh
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
He's the one who got the card.
Oh, Mr. Herring.
Yes.
Correct, Mr. Red Herring.
R. Herring.
Yeah,
Let's
R.
be
Herring.
fair. They just used R to not make it obvious.
When he looks at the note and he's like, I could-
rich jerk boyfriend who now has moved on so quickly and all that. He must be the killer.
But also he looks at and I don't know if it's like
Gained nothing from her death.
Yeah.
nothing.
Right? Like, it's not like they were married and he got
No.
an inheritance.
Why would he
like it's
do that?
Yeah.
But also there's this, so they're talking to this guy and he's like, can I see the invitation that you got? And he puts it down and he looks at it and the word apple kind of lights up when he's looking at the print on the thing. And I thought, is he
telling
like-
us to invest in Apple stock?
well, that's I'm just like, is he saying that
He wanted an eye Victrola.
don't put that in the universe. That will be a thing. But is he like? Did he look at the note and just saw the word apple and was like, "Hey"?
Yeah, it's not like a secret code that was implanted,
Right.
which is what I thought they were saying at first. Because I was like, how would you ever pick
How
that
would
up?
you
That's
put that
ridic-
together?
It's not like it's the first letter of every word or something. It's
like just random
You could
letters.
do that in any sentence, you know. And he says there's a line he says later where he's like, my subconscious brain starts to see what it needs to see.
Okay.
Like to say, like, here's what you should be like. Somewhere deep down, I've already started formulating the answer, and my brain picks it out.
And
as
it
other
just
things.
okay. It's like a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically,
Okay.
it was a plot device.
Yes. So
what happens?
We'll just wrap
So
this
what-
up.
so-
Basically, what happens is the mom, who is obsessed with her daughter, it's Munchausen, right? Munchausen by proxy.
By proxy,
Yeah.
yeah.
So she has been.
They don't call it that anymore, for the record.
They don't.
No.
Is that offensive?
No, they gave it a more
Yeah, the
medical name.
Munchkins. They
Yeah,
Son of a bitch.
yeah.
Basically,
the
what happens?
Lollipop Guild. Got
They
them
took offense.
lawyered
They
up,
took offense to it. Yeah,
and-
right. The mom has. She doesn't want to lose her daughter. The daughter is engaged to this very charismatic American chef. The daughter is going to leave, and to prevent that, the mom digs up all of the flower garden.
It's now called fictitious disorder imposed on another.
Oh, that rolls right off the
Right
tongue.
up, but
Yeah.
it is more accurate than the other one.
Yeah.
So she plants these flowers that have poisonous honey. Like that's the deal. And we find this
Or
out.
does she make the honey with the flowers in them? I don't think the flowers have honey. Flowers don't make honey.
Oh no. But
She
it's
puts
the
flowers
pollen
in them to
into the honey because we find out there's a scene earlier
good
where
old
the
honey flowers.
honey flowers, honeysuckles. Yeah.
She grew 800
He's like-
million.
Yeah. He's like, honeysuckles, what's your retort now, botanist?
Got you.
You know what they say? You can lead a horticulture, but you can't make her think.
That's a pretty good one. But the boyfriend cuts his finger, and Kenneth Branagh's like, "Hey, use that honey. It's a natural like sedative or it's a glue,
Antibiotic. Yeah, like
and he
it-
tastes it and he was like, this isn't regular honey. And then somebody said earlier, he's like, oh, I found that honey in the towel cabinet.
Yeah.
And it's like,
my wife was
what?
like, something's up with the honey.
Yeah.
So we find out that she has been using this honey to keep her daughter
Like dope
sick.
her. She's-
Yeah, basically. But Kenneth Branagh has been taking the honey at a lower rate through like
Well, and it will poison you in enough, but with lower dosage, it causes you to hallucinate.
Correct.
Which is why she was hearing the voices. It's also why Poirot's been having these visions because she's been spiking his tea.
right.
So and again I like the misdirect. Like, well, he was hit in the head, so is he
Right.
same things? But it's like, oh no, he was dosed with the same
Dosed.
stuff.
And we find out it's the mom. The mom was poisoning the daughter, and there was this other this woman who was a nun who was also like part of this house, and the daughter was having a fit, and this woman had seen the mom like give her this tea, so she was just like, oh, I gotta give her the tea, and she gave her
way too
way
much.
too much of the honey, and it killed her. Yeah. So the mom.
So then the mom faked her suicide
Correct.
because she didn't want someone to do an autopsy and find out she was poisoned.
Right.
So it's like, oh, she jumped, but she really threw her daughter into
threw
the
her
water.
off the thing, and of course the doctor is so messed up that he just kind of misses everything and just rules it a suicide.
But the son is super smart,
Right.
and put all his dad's notes together as he was going through them, and he figured it out. And he's like, "Well, I'm going to see if this works, and I'm going to test my theory." And he sent a blackmail letter, and she started paying it. So he's like, "Oh," so he's like, "I didn't even know what to do with the money. We paid the bills, and I had so much left over."
I like that line. He was like, I had so much left.
And Poirot was talking to her earlier. She's like, "I don't have any money left." And he's like, and then he and Tina Fey were like, "Where did the money go? She's rich." And
right.
but
Why is
she's
this house not fixed? Why is stuff like that?
Spent it all in Victrolas.
That's
Victrola.
Right.
She was an early adopter.
yeah, right. And so she brings in Michelle Yeoh, and she thinks that she is the one who is the blackmailer, but she accidentally hits Kenneth Branagh because Kenneth Branagh's wearing the same outfit that Michelle Yeoh was wearing.
Those conveniences are kind of annoying.
A little
Yeah.
bit.
When you put here, sir, put on this cloak. Here, Mr. No Nonsense, put on this cloak and mask. Would Poirot not go, what the hell is this? Throw it on the ground. Like the fact that he's like, oh, I will wear this outfit. Like
While I bob for the apple.
it's
right,
so
right.
stupid. Like that is stupid.
While I have
to
a
me.
rare moment of whimsy.
Yeah, it's like that's not his character whatsoever.
Also-
when she puts it on him, the first thing Poirot would go, get this on it.
But you also know he's not sticking that mustache in water.
I know, because
Absolutely not.
First thing I thought of was, what's the mustache going to look like wet?
It came up perfect.
Yeah. No, it was a little messed
Oh, was
up.
it?
Yeah.
Well, it's just wax.
But I was like, I know, but I'm like, it's going to mess up his mustache
Yeah,
for
right.
the whole
And he's-
movie.
I gotta
Is he
tell
going to
ya.
go, hold on, please? 2 hours later, he comes out.
Yeah, I
with
was like, wait a minute. I gotta tell you, it's a hell of a mustache.
There,
You can tell the
but
budget's
that
been
mustache-
cut.
every movie it gets less impressive.
Even the mustache is smaller.
But it
Yeah.
has layers, which
But
is a very
that
impressive
first
feature.
one when it was a 3-part spike and he
Oh,
had
yeah.
the holder for
Yes,
it. Oh
yeah,
my
it's
gosh.
so good.
It was back when they had money for CGI.
Well,
You think it was CGI mustache?
Yeah. No.
Oh, I was going to say that's the whole
that's
budget.
Henry Cavill.
It's Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Yeah. They should have used him instead of Army Hammer.
that's right. I should have from now on.
Was he in one of these movies or no?
No, which
See?
is like kind of shocking.
This is the first one that hasn't had someone with a sex scandal, so they're
Oh,
doing okay.
Hey, wait, who was the first one?
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny
Yeah.
Depp was the victim in the first one.
Oh.
Yeah,
Because
that's
that was
right.
kind of the setup, is that you get a big famous person in the opening that gets killed, and then that's, they need him for a day, and
He
it's
thought he was a victim in his real life too.
nice stunt casting.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, they figure it all out. That it's the mom. She's done everything, and then, as things are getting wrapped up, the mom ends up trying to. Does she just fall? Does she just fall over the balcony?
It gets kind of well, is there something going on? Because Poirot sees the ghost of the
you're
daughter,
right.
and then she slips off, but it kind of looks like...
That's kind of a cool scene
It
where
is.
like the ghost of the daughter is floating in the background.
Yes, and then when she goes in the water, it could be like her vision because she's falling. and
daughter's
taking a hit,
pulling her
but the
down.
daughter's pulling her into the water to keep her drowned. Like there was some cool imagery there for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
And then
it.
they wrap it up,
But
and
he
then-
lets the kid go. He figures out.
Well, he says that he's like, hey, I didn't know what to do with all that money. He's like, I got to know what you can do with that money. You can give it to these two.
Send him to St.
Send
Louis.
him to St. Louis.
Well, also I'm like, he's took all this money and they're like, we'll find a good use for it. Here, we bought you a plane ticket. Like, That's literally. She's like,
I'll keep
we're
the rest.
going to get you a ticket. It's like he has so much money, and I thought they were going to go. Oh, we're going to donate to the children's orphanage.
No.
Literally their solution.
No, they're like,
all
we'll
that
buy
money,
you.
we'll buy you. A
You two will
ticket.
buy you plane tickets. The rest we're keeping.
And when you land, you're on your own.
Right. I'm just like, I thought that was such a funny solution to.
And he and Tina Fey, he's just like, I don't like you no mo. And she's like, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
And basically he's like,
Because she was in cahoots with
The whole time.
with the psychic.
and the doc and the cop,
Yeah.
like all of it.
Like it
Was she
was.
in cahoots with the psychic? I thought they really did.
I think it was all three of them together.
Yeah,
was all
they
three.
were like she was doing. She brought in the psychic to trick him.
Right.
Like she was always trying. She was in on the tricks
Yeah.
because she was actually helping operate
hiding,
some of
like,
the other things.
the Baba or whatever.
Yeah,
hiding that
and
stuff.
so yeah, which is a shame because I liked those two together. So I was like, oh, if they make another one, I'd like to see her back because she added kind of a modern sensibility.
She was his home or his Watson.
Yeah, like I enjoyed those two together.
Yeah, they were. I same.
Yeah.
So, but in the beginning of this movie, that there's Poirot has like a line of people trying to solve cases, and given the fact that he has now solved this case, he's got the mojo back. And at the first, he usually he closes the door to his place, but this time he leaves it open. And the guy we see in the beginning, he's like, somebody's trying to kill me. And of course he figures it out. Like he just reads the notes. He's like, by the way, you're gonna die. Get it together. And that's kind of how this one ends. I think I like this more than Death on the Nile. It was an interesting
You're into
horror.
Nile.
Yeah. No, I like this one more than that one. Because that one is
yeah.
such a mess. That one is that Death on the Nile is a mess of a movie.
I wish that maybe this one came next and could have had a better budget because I just think they're so restricted. And hats off for them for having the smaller budget and it being.
What was the budget on this? Did it go back to
It was
55?
60.
Oh, okay.
So the first one was 55,
Okay.
and now 8 years later it's 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that
things,
tracks then.
Things cost more now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was an interesting horror, not even horror, just spooky.
But it had those elements.
It was a spooky movie.
Yeah.
I like the change in tone and it was interesting. You know what? I mean, even if I didn't think it was like the best, I think murder mysteries are fun. So
I do.
I'm up for it.
Yeah, when they don't
it's
take
entertaining.
themselves too seriously and they tell a good story, I think they're one of my favorite forms of filmmaking.
I wonder if he'll make another one. I wonder if this is it.
My guess is based on the box office, this is
Yeah.
probably it.
Unless
Like,
a streamer picks it up and can, make it a
And
streaming
pay no
only
one?
type thing.
yeah.
We'll
But
see
Oh,
what
you mean
happens,
a fourth
eventually.
movie?
Yeah, I wonder if it will eventually become a streaming thing.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But I feel like these might work better as a miniseries, like a 4-part, 3-part miniseries, maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah, potentially. But I don't know. I liked it. Like I said, I thought it was my favorite of the three. I thought
Interesting.
it was the first one that you could actually play along with, which to me is such a key component of these sorts of
Oh,
stories.
we forgot to say that the Jamie Dornan kills himself.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
I
is
forgot
that
about
he backed into a knife because basically the mom threatened. She's like, "I got your son right here."
She's like,
and-
"You're the one blackmailing me. If you don't kill yourself, I'm going to kill your kid." And he was like, "Got it.
And he's like, okay, I guess so. So
I'll run it back
Yeah.
first into the sword."
anyway, I guess there's that.
There you go.
So I want to back up and with Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I looked it up.
Yeah.
So there were 3 written by Stieg Larsson, and then there are 3 more written by David Lagerkrantz. He wrote The Girl in the Spider's Web, which
That's the
I think
one that-
that's the one that they turned into
Yep.
a movie.
Yep.
And then The Girl Who Takes an Eye for an Eye, and then The Girl Who Lived Twice. And then
Oh.
there's another one written, The Girl in the Eagle's Talons,
Interesting.
written by Karen Smirnoff, and that came out in 2022. But I
Oh.
think that's supposed to be the first of another trilogy.
Okay. Okay.
So
Elizabeth Slander's a detective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so anyway,
first
it's
3
just
books are great,
but yeah, they're certainly like doing everything they can to keep that alive. So I have not read any of them.
The first
so-
3 are good.
I've seen the Swedish stuff, and those movies are good.
Oh, man,
the
very
Fincher
good.
one's good.
Yeah.
Did not really care for whatever that.
Claire Flory, I can't remember what her name is, but it's not Kate Mara. No, Rooney Mara. Rooney Mara plays her in the Fincher one.
Yeah.
And then they recast her in this new one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Actually, I
who
think
was
it's,
the original one though?
Numi Rapace.
Numi Rapace.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was so good in that.
I think Fede Alvarez directed that Girl in the Spider's Web.
Oh.
The guy that did Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find
This
them.
is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButts, BUTTS21.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett and check out Circle of Wizards.
Yeah.
And this is Tom. You can follow me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online, facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. And of course, don't forget our Patreon at patreon.com/Real Spoilers. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, Ransom did it.
Get back.